question, and please just hear me out, but has cancel culture gone too far? Don't get it twisted. I love watching abusive, powerful men finally suffer consequences for their actions. It nourishes my soul. And the last thing that I want to do is join the chorus of butthurt old white dudes who are whining about the country being destroyed just because someone is finally holding them accountable for their actions. But think about it. We started canceling people to promote equality and accountability at the heart of our institutions. Except now, cancellation is being used to advertise shows, not to mention it's a rallying cry for the very people that we're trying to stand against.
Hell, the theme for this year's CPAC QAnon Circle Jerk was literally called America Uncancelled.
So where did we go wrong? And how might we go about trying to get back on the right track?
Luckily, this isn't the first time that a movement started off with good intentions before generating backlash.
Us old fogies who are making long-term memories in the 90s can probably think of another term with similar origins: politically correct.
Originally, it referred to an adherence among activists to a strict ideological party line. Ironically, it was even used as a joke among far-left activists in the 70s. It was then used in the 80s during a debate over college curriculum, before migrating over to popular culture to describe another phenomenon. It marked one of the first times in American history when marginalized groups had a chance to push against language that contributed to their oppression and tell everyone else how they wanted to be identified. And then the rest of society was like, okay, cool, and then we all lived happily ever after. Just kidding. The conservative right began to lose their shit. And to this day, we still have conservatives using the term as a boogeyman to try to scare your Fox News-loving uncle into thinking that we're all in a George Orwell novel. Canceling followed a similar trajectory. It too began as a joke among people of more liberal persuasion. More specifically, it tended to make the rounds on Black Twitter as a reference to a scene from the 1991 film New Jack City,
cancel that bitch,
which was later quoted in an episode of Love and Hip Hop.
You cancel.
It was a continuation of traditions in Black activism to attack inequality both financially, like with bus boycotts, and publicly, like with call-out culture. And once again, the expression was appropriated and popularized to describe a reckoning taking place in the public forum. Abusive figures sitting in positions of power, who had previously been seen as untouchable, were finally starting to suffer real and dire consequences for their behavior. And part of that reckoning came as the result of coordinated campaigns and outcries that happened on social media.
And while most people can agree that those initial reckonings were a good thing, we now found ourselves at the center of another cultural stalemate, with detractors using the exact same straw man scare tactics to shut down all debate. Don't believe me? Let's have a look.
We have to stop with political correctness.
The cancel culture mob has gained so much strength.
And, just for good measure, here's another example.
What's more important to you, political correctness or the truth?
One can only move forward if another is canceled. It rewards as it punishes, and if you don't think you're next, then you aren't paying attention.
So how do we find a way out? Well, first, we have to recognize that not only is it possible to cancel the wrong people, but we've already done it. Like when a San Diego Gas and Electric employee lost his job after a photo circulated online that looked like him making a white power sign outside of a BLM rally. Turns out he was just cracking his knuckles. But more importantly, there were critiques used during the political correctness debate that can provide some insight about where we are now, which is why now I'm going to hand it off to an eminent cultural critic of that era.
I'm not sure that's the way to fight discrimination. I'm not sure silencing people or forcing them to alter their speech is the best method for solving problems that go much deeper than speech.
Movements like cancel culture or political correctness began with good intentions, and at the end of the day, their ideology is just trying to get people to be less awful to one another. And most people who disagree don't necessarily disagree with that goal or that ideology.
If you think about it, that's also how you can describe another phenomenon that predates politics and pop culture as we know it: religion. And like with religion, a lot of bad things start to happen when you get caught up in the performance of it and lose the original thread. When we get caught up in adhering to strict dogma rather than understand the intent behind them, we start to have problems. When we're too busy publicly executing heretics to help those in need, we start to have problems. And while people should be held accountable for their actions, that accountability should come from a set of universal and equally applied rules and not an angry mob. The point of cancel culture and PC culture and the like is not to try to control your mind or shut down conversations. In fact, we need to have more uncomfortable conversations if we're going to solve problems like racism, misogyny, homo and transphobia, and other forms of oppression that are both interpersonal and systemic.
What these movements are trying to do is to give everyone a framework to have those conversations in a way that respects the dignity and humanity of everyone involved. If you're not sure what language to use to respect someone's struggle, just ask them. If you make a mistake, own up to it, and then learn how you can do better. Yeah, there's always going to be people who want to stand on your neck and call themselves tall, but those people don't represent anyone or anything besides their own stupidity.
But most importantly, realize that you are never really done finding new ways to learn and to grow, which is also why you should keep stimulating your mind with a bit more of this.